Hi, my name's Dan Swearingen. I'm the COO of Autistry Studios in San Rafael, and today I want to nerd out about notebooks. What I want to talk about is I buy tons of notebooks, and I always buy, when I buy a notebook, I go, that's the notebook for me. That's the notebook that's going to help me keep things organized, or it's a notebook I'm going to want to put things in. And what I want to talk about is how that actually worked out. What notebooks did I actually end up using? And so we'll go over all the different kinds. I buy all different kinds, and I find that I see a new kind of notebook and I have to buy it. So I'll start with the easy ones. We've all seen these, the basic spiral notebook. And these go for, I think when back to school time comes, I think these are as cheap as 50 cents each. And we get tons of them for the students to work with. And they serve a purpose, but do I keep any of these notebooks for years? No, I don't. Do I put anything I feel like is really valuable in them? Not really. Class notes, something disposable. Now, when I want a garbage notebook, what I'll do is I'll get things like these with the plain manila folder cover. These are graph inside, but actually what I do is I go ahead and I use these for what I call garbage journals. Anyone who knows that, you have these things that are bugging you at night and you write down about it and then you're able to go to sleep. That's a very useful use for this book. Notebooks that I find I love the idea of, but I don't use, are notebooks kind of like these that are pre-formatted. And by pre-formatted, I mean that they have pages in them that are organized. So these are the daily pages. And does this thing have anything but daily pages? It really doesn't. This just has daily pages. And the idea is that you're going to spend 5 minutes at night before you go to bed and write down your thoughts in this. And this is something that I'll do for a week, and then I stop. And I don't really need this journal. I use it and I realize I could probably just write this in something else. So, Get Stuff Done. Very impressive book. Has an instruction book. And you go inside and it has your 10-year plan, a vision board where you would put thumbnails of different things, place to list your goals. Then basically the pattern it follows then is a week. And you notice they put all the weeks together. And then there are daily pages. And I think there's monthly pages somewhere. Is there a monthly page somewhere? There's weekly. There's 2 monthly pages. There we go. So the idea is that this is supposed to last you 2 months. And it's a beautiful notebook. Here's another one. I think this is actually from the same folks. High Performance Planner. How can anyone resist a notebook that says High Performance Planner? I can't. So I bought one. So this is kind of like, this is actually similar to the 5-minute book in the sense that you can see there's today's message to myself, today's top 3 goals and priorities, tasks that absolutely must be done today, and persons I need to lead or connect with today and how to do it well. And then there's a way to kind of give yourself a score for the day. And I believe every week, you find the weekly ones. Okay, so then there's basically a weekly scorecard where you go through and you see how did you do and you score and rate yourself. Fascinating, and I don't think I'm ever going to use this notebook. Another kind of notebook I find intensely attractive. These little things. So these are from Moleskine, and these are for different cities. So this one is for San Francisco. You can see on the spine there, very faintly. And then inside, this is the idea is that when you go to San Francisco, you would travel around with this notebook. And it's got your name. Okay, and then as you get in, it has a whole bunch of built-in maps. So this is the San Francisco transit system. This is kind of the whole San Francisco Bay Area. This is giving you more kind of transit information. This is the Muni Metro, which is the downtown streetcar system. And they have these for several cities. This one's San Francisco. Then they also have a detailed map of the city, page by page. Then there is a place for you to jot down kind of like a daily diary of what you did in the city. And here is, I assume you could actually fill this out before you go. You would go, here's like various bars and restaurants and different attractions that I would want to go see. And in the back, it's got San Francisco stickers. I'm not sure what you would do with those. And then in the way back, it has these transparent kind of, they're kind of like Post-it notes that you could stick in the book and trace over. I'm not sure what you would do with that. So I have one for San Francisco. I've got another one for Washington, D.C. I'm pretty sure these are out of print now, and so you'd have hard pressed to find them. But I want to go into the Washington, D.C. one just to show that they really are customized for each location. So for Washington, D.C., there's kind of an overview map for orientation. There's the metro system map, which if you've been to Washington, D.C., the metro system is really important as a tourist. And then page by page kind of maps of Washington, D.C. And then after that, the structure is very much the same. Blank pages for your experience and things. So you notice that there's nothing written in these notebooks. So this is another notebook where I love the idea, but I'm not sure I used it. So what kind of notebooks do I actually use? So I noticed that this plain one, yeah, I use those. Here's another kind. This is a standard reporter's notebook. Well, guess what this is great for, folks? This is great for grocery lists. Grocery lists, I need to jot down 3 little pieces of information and I don't want to lose them. I even went so far as to buy a carrier for that notebook. Okay. And I even cut a custom piece of masonite kind of clipboard material to put inside here to make it really stiff. Because one of the things I find is I want a firm back on my notebook and that's useful. In fact, so much so, in my college days, this was a kind of notebook that I really loved. And you can see it's got graph paper on one side, lined on the other side. It's got an extremely thick cardboard back. And so this is a really nice notebook to write on in class. You can sit there and just hold it like this, put it down on your lap. You don't even have to have a desk. This is actually a terribly useful kind of notebook. I had not used them for years, and I recently bought 3. I notice I'm not actually using them yet, so maybe that's a bad sign. But I like them. Okay, then we've got these kind of plain notebooks. These are really good for kind of artist scrapbooking, is what this one's actually been set up to do. And what people do with this is you cut out pieces of ephemera. So you'll either print pictures from the internet or make your own drawings, and you just start stacking them in here. And for instance, we had a project where people would put some artwork in it and then they would hand it on. And someone else would continue the art, and the books would just get thicker and thicker as people would put more stuff in them. Let me get to the ones I love the most last. This is a notebook that I was going to start using if I was unable to find my favorite kind of notebook. So this has many of the things I like. It has a very thick plastic covers on it, which make it very stiff. It's dot grid, which I actually like better than lined. I find that various kinds of grids suit my writing style more. And this is just a very nice little notebook, so I have a few of these. Okay, what else have we got? So here's another manila one. I think I bought these. I know what happened is I thought I was getting more of these, and I didn't notice that this was a much larger size. So I now have a bunch of these. I might use them someday. If you ever did any research in college, the computation notebook. So this is a notebook that I made to document an idea I was thinking might be patentable, but it's not really. And the idea was for little bookcase dioramas, which are still an awesome idea. And this is just documenting my design process with it. And this is the kind of thing that you would do when you're getting ready to, you think you might be patenting something. So I have various laboratory notebooks. This is kind of a low-cost one. I'm going to move this up a little bit. There. This is kind of a low-cost one that, with grid in it. A key thing in these laboratory notebooks that you'll see is that they have numbered pages, so you can tell when pages have been taken out. And so these pages, you can see these are very formally designed. There's actually a signature space on the bottom. These are for documenting your work. The last time I actually used one of these seriously was for my PhD work in astrophysics. And this is my book documenting my work on a cataclysmic variable system called KT Persei. And so this is all the data that I was working with. And let's see if we can find anything interesting in here. Basically, it was taking the spectra of stars and processing it into, where's some of my pictures? There. Processing it into pictures like this, and these are pictures in velocity space of a binary system, and it's made by decomposing the spectra. And if it sounds complicated, it is. It's the funny thing is that it's repurposing the math of a CAT scanner. So we basically take that technique and then apply it to the stars. Posh notebooks. Definitely love Posh notebooks. So here's a really nice one. This is not from Moleskine. This is a Moleskine competitor. And I can tell you right now, a problem that I have with this is that it's got this super wide line paper, and I write really small. And so this is a huge turnoff, that the line spacing is too big in an otherwise good notebook. Here's just a really nice, again, another Moleskine competitor. This is a dot grid book. I think that's the other thing I like about dot grids, is that you can actually have, write as much as you want in it. Paperage, nice. I'm going to start going a little faster just because I want to get to the books that I really love. I'm showing you all the things I tried. Oh, these ones. You'll get these at bookstores, right? And these are these plain books, and they're just of plain paper. And the idea is that you draw on them. And I actually make some use of these. So if you go through, I can see I've got some pencil drawings here. I've got a green one around somewhere that I've actually done lots of drawings in, but I don't seem to have it handy with me today. What else? Oh, notebooks to give. So I love notebooks, so of course I give notebooks. So these are really fun. So these have a front page with a bunch of Post-its on it, and then you've got line paper inside, and here's a slightly larger one, which I immediately like better because it's dot grid, but it also has the page of Post-it notes. These are really awesome gifts. Something to know. These things, I love notebooks again. So little field notes books, and so these are little 48-page notebooks, and you can get them in either. This is dot grid, and this is lined. All right, so, and again, on and on, okay? So here is, of course, a whole stack of beautiful notebooks, and beautiful and expensive. And am I going to use them? Probably not. So what do I use? Well, you've probably noticed these blue ones. So these are what I use. So these are called Maker notebooks, and they were originally affiliated with Make Magazine. I don't know if they still are. They go in and out of print, and whenever they go back into print, I buy a bunch. So they're semi-formatted. They have a table of contents at the front, and then after that, it's up to you. The basic format is a grid. Now, it's actually never been a problem for me. The grid is actually it's 8 by 8. It's not a 10 by 10, but it's a nice size, and it fits the average size of my writing. Okay, and this is one of my daily to-do lists. And you can see what I do is I put the date at the top and just go. This is a notebook I've been using for a while, and I love it, and it works really well. Here are here are more notebooks. Looking at it, I basically go, depending on how much stuff I put in them, I go 3 to 6 months a notebook. So you can see that's many years of notebooks. And again, I've bought more because they went back in print recently. So that's making me very happy. But what I realize is I don't go back into those notebooks. And they're relatively expensive. They're about $20 each, which is worth it. But I fill them up with my daily to-do list, which is very helpful. But I find I don't really go back into them very often. And at the end, I'll sit there and I'll use Microsoft Lens and my iPhone. So I'll just take my iPhone with Microsoft Lens, and basically Lens lets you take a picture of a page of the notebook, and then it flattens it out so it's a nice square image, and then I upload it to OneNote, and I save the pages that I care about in there. But otherwise, I don't ever go back into those notebooks. And that bothers me, because now that's a pile of paper there that I've consumed for this, and I'm not sure that's feeling very good anymore. Recently, I started to fall in love with Rocketbooks. So Rocketbooks, if you're not familiar with them, now they have a whole infrastructure which I don't use, but the key thing of their infrastructure that I do use is the basic way their notebooks work. Let me find one that I haven't written in. And that I've written in it is important. Okay, so basically the page, it's kind of a semi-smooth, kind of a matte finish plastic is what each page is. You go, plastic, what the hell? So, and then you use these erasable ink pens. And which, you know, everyone, I remember when they came through and everyone, oh, that's horrible, erasable ink, who would want that? Well, what they're perfect for here is that each page of this notebook is like a little whiteboard. And so you can sit there and draw on it. Anyway, write your notes. And then once it's there, it has a nice black border because the intention was that you would be basically photographing these pages and then uploading them into a system. And again, Rocketbook has their whole infrastructure for doing that, but I don't actually use it. What I use is Microsoft Lens, Office 365, and I dump it into OneNote. And I just save the pages right there. And they save brilliantly. But this is something that I actually use. And so what I'm starting to do now is my daily to-do lists. Right here, my daily to-do list now happens in these Rocketbooks, and I save them off. And then I'm going, well, what am I going to do with the make books? Well, so last night I was sitting there and I'm making myself move to the Rocketbook, and I was trying to draw a little layout diagram of a model railroad. And I realized that I hated doing it in the Rocketbook, that was just the wrong way to do it. It didn't feel good to be doing this in that whiteboard format. And I'm trying to figure out the distinction, because here's a larger Rocketbook, and you can see that clearly I've got this thing full of all kinds of beautiful drawings. But what I'm really doing here is I'm using the Rocketbook like I used to use a whiteboard, you know? And for that, it's brilliant. So, but if I'm designing something and I'm sketching and I'm drawing, I actually don't like doing it on this plastic surface. So the Make notebook are going to end up being what they should be, which is someplace that you do drawings and design and figure out your thoughts that way, and not for my daily to-do list, which again, at $20 a notebook, that's kind of a weird thing. So I'm investing more heavily in the Rocketbook stuff. So here's a little holder for the Rocketbook. What this does is it gives it a slightly stiffer back. So my one gripe about the Rocketbooks is that they don't have a stiff back. They're kind of floppy notebooks. They're floppy and flexible, which is cool, except it means you need to be on a hard surface. I would like them to be the hard surface. This is simply a larger one. This is a Rocketbook I haven't tried yet, but you can see that it actually has pre-formatted pages. So here, there's a master to-do list projects. These are weekly planners. Here's a monthly planner. Here's kind of high-level objectives and reflections. And then pages of dot grid, which is great. And then finally, a section of pages of lines. And the lines are a little closer spaced. I might use this. I'll have to find out. So I'm going to play with these. This is the big size. This size is called the executive size. And the way the Rocketbooks work is that if you have a drawing that you want to get rid of or edit, you can actually, the back of any of these pens will erase a section. And the other thing you could do is you get these little microfiber cloths that they give you. Get them wet and wipe it down, and the ink just wipes right off and the pages are reusable. So even though each one of these maybe has 50 pages in it, what you do is once they fill it up, you just spend a day kind of wiping them down. I shouldn't say a day, it takes like 20 minutes to clean one out completely and let it dry. So the Rocketbooks I'm really digging for the day-to-day to-do list stuff. I'm feeling like that's a really good way to go. And then the larger Rocketbooks for my kind of whiteboard experience, and portable whiteboard, and then the maker books to actually do my drawings and my kind of the sketches that I make for me, right? They're sketches when I communicate a sketch to someone else. That's what these are for. These are, these were me giving. These things here, this was me giving a staff person a crash course in electronics and electricity and magnetism and things like that. I mean, and this person wanted to know all the way down to why do electrons want to move? I mean, why are they moving the metal and stuff? So anyway, so if I'm explaining something to someone else, which is kind of what you do at a whiteboard, the big Rocketbooks. When I'm doing my daily to-do list, the small Rocketbook, which is great. And you can see it's about the same size as the Make notebook. And then the Make notebook. So now I'm down to carrying, because part of this I'll talk about how insane my daily carry is. But now I've got a few of these, the set of pens, and frankly I had a set of colored pens of regular ink too, so this is not a huge burden. And these pens write perfectly well on paper as well, so that's not a problem. And then my Make book, and so now my daily carry is getting pretty reasonable, and it covers what I do in terms of designing. I move around from location to location. I'm working with people and designing things, and I want to be able to draw and do my designs and have that work retained somewhere. So this concludes my notebook Nerdout session. Please share any comments that you have. Autistry Studios is a 501c3 nonprofit, and many of these products are going to be linked in the description of this article. And if you buy through those links, then Autistry Studios gets a small cut, and that helps support all the great work that we do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and please leave me comments and any extra information or something you want to share in the comments section, and I'll respond to everyone I can.